Today, we're diving into one of the most brilliant, most theatrical, and just audacious heists in modern history. It's a story so wild, it's literally known as the robbery of the century. I mean, think about this question for a second. How in the world do you pull off a multi-million-dollar bank robbery in broad daylight, with hundreds of cops surrounding the building, their eyes glued to your every move? It sounds totally impossible. And yet, it really happened. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in San Isidro, a pretty wealthy suburb of Buenos Aires, Argentina. The date is January 13th, 2006, and what looks like a typical bank robbery is quickly turning into a full-on, high-stakes siege. Now, from the outside, this whole thing looked like something straight out of a movie. You've got the bank, the Banco Rio, you've got a perimeter of heavily armed police, and inside, 23 terrified hostages. To everyone watching, this was a classic, desperate standoff. As far as the police, the media, and the public were concerned, the thieves were completely cornered. They had nowhere to go. So naturally, all the focus was on the negotiator, who was trying to talk them down and get the hostages out safely. This was the main event, or so everyone thought. But here's the thing. What was happening inside that bank wasn't really a robbery, not in the way we think of it. No, it was a masterpiece of misdirection. It was an elaborate, carefully staged play designed for one specific audience, the hundreds of police officers right outside. So you have these two completely separate realities playing out at the same time. On one hand, what the police saw, a super tense negotiation with a bunch of trapped criminals. But what was actually happening? That negotiation was just background noise. It was a cover, a distraction, that allowed them to be downstairs, calmly emptying the bank's vaults, while their escape plan was already underway. And this detail, this is just incredible. The thieves were so calm, so confident in their plan, that while they were looting all these safe deposit boxes, they had a TV on. They were literally watching the live news coverage of their own siege. I mean, that tells you everything about how in control they felt. They weren't just robbers, they were the directors of their own crime film. So after hours of this back and forth, communications just stopped. Radio silence. The police feared the worst for the hostages. So the elite units made the call. They decided to go in, breaching the doors, fully expecting a violent showdown. But inside, there was nothing. No one. The hostages? They were all safe, totally unharmed. But the robbers, the money, even the real weapons they'd used, all gone. It was like they had just evaporated into thin air. So, how'd they do it, right? How does a crew of armed men, hauling millions of dollars, just disappear from a building that's completely surrounded? Well, this is where the real genius of the plan comes out. See, the answer wasn't above grounds at all. It was below it. The crew had spent months planning and building access to a huge network of storm drain tunnels that ran right underneath the bank. That was their secret highway. That's how they bypassed the entire siege without anyone having a clue. And this just shows you the critical point. The whole hostage situation, the dramatic event that the entire world was watching, that wasn't the plan. That was just step one. So let's break down exactly how they pulled off this masterpiece. Their plan was like a perfect four-act play. Act 1, create the ultimate diversion, a huge public siege to get everyone looking up. Act 2, breach the vaults from below, totally unseen, using those tunnels. Act 3, take your sweet time looting hundreds of safe deposit boxes while the police are busy with the show upstairs. And for the grand finale, the getaway, right back through those same tunnels to just disappear into the city. And the reward for this incredible performance? Well, the estimates put it at around 20 million US dollars. And we're not just talking about stacks of cash. The haul included jewelry, gold, bonds, all the irreplaceable things people keep in safe deposit boxes. While nobody knows the exact figure for sure, it was, without a doubt, one of the biggest and most successful heists in Argentina's history. So why does this story stick with us? You know, why do people call it the robbery of the century? It's really about more than just the money. It's about the sheer mind-bending audacity and intelligence behind the whole thing. It really has all the ingredients of a legend, right? The bank siege was just a stage. The underground escape was something you'd expect in a Hollywood blockbuster. And they didn't just fool the local cops, they fooled the entire world's media, which was broadcasting it all live. It was a crime for sure, but it was also a perfectly told story with a twist nobody saw coming. And that kind of leaves us with one final question. It was, without a doubt, a major crime. But when you look at the meticulous planning, the flawless execution, and the pure theatricality of it all, you just have to wonder, where does a crime stop and a piece of performance art begin? And that's what makes this story absolutely unforgettable.